How would you like to go from completely anxious to anticipating sales calls? So much so that you could leave a corporate career that you were amazing at and do $1 million in your own business in less than 2 years.
The problem you delay is here to stay, and the problem you attend to can ascend you. Sales is the problem I'm delaying.
Because it takes a lot longer to build momentum than the momentum itself.
The last thing you need is to have that anxiety about sales.
I have a very special guest for you. Her name is Ashley Brock. She is a marketing guru and loves paid ads. You're gonna love her. She has a childlike spirit and such a heart to help people. She's so special. Welcome, Ashley Brock, to the Sales Girl.
Thank you. I'm so pumped.
Your story is incredible. But I think what has transpired over the last year really needs to be told in detail.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I really want to go back before we talk about the $1 million and all this cool stuff. What is your background? How the heck did this start?
So background is I just worked at ad agencies. So 10 years in marketing, and my mom was a teacher. So I wanted to be like mom. And so someone came to me one time at the agency and said, hey, would you like to teach marketing at this place called General Assembly? So it was in Atlanta, Pond City Market. And I would go once a month and I would just teach to like business owners or people just wanted to learn about marketing. So many people would come up to me after and say, hey, I want to learn a little bit more. And I'm like, oh, I don't do that. That like planted a seed. I'm like, someone wants to learn more? Like what else? I know so much about marketing, maybe I could share it with them. So yeah, I had done it. I loved it. And I felt like what I was finding, someone told me this one time, they said, if you repeat it, record it. So that's like the story of what like seeded it. So when I was actually 6 weeks pregnant, I was thinking about like leaving my corporate job.
You have 2 boys. Your
Two
mom has
boys.
2. You have a wonderful husband. And was that your first son or your second?
I left my job, yes, 6 weeks with my second.
Okay, that's when you left. But let's back up, because didn't you have managed millions of dollars in ads?
200 million, yeah.
200 million in ad spend.
Ad spend, yeah, because
For which companies?
like companies that range from small companies to Fortune 500 companies like Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
That's the one I always remember.
Oh yeah.
Because you think, oh, Dollar Tree like needs ad spend. I've never seen one of their ads, or have I? And I just don't think about it.
You might not think about it because so often like someone will search for something on like maps, like Google Maps, and you won't realize that it's an ad because it actually looks kind of organic. But yeah, I actually, was responsible for showing people that you can actually buy Dollar Tree in bulk online.
Oh my gosh.
I know, you're shook. So I didn't get to everyone with the marketing message, but the target audience for that is people that are buying in bulk. So that was part of the mission. But yeah, it was really cool.
Okay, very cool. So that is important because that's part of those reps that you got managing $200 million in ads meant that you learned a lot over that time, which is why you could teach it.
Exactly. Yes. You think about 200 million and someone's like, who's spending that? But if you think about 10 years and you think about companies like Dollar Tree, what if they spend 1 to 5 million a month? And you spend that much, and at the agencies, you have multiple clients. You're managing millions of dollars a month in ad spend, so it can add up over time.
Wow, holy cow. Okay, so that's your history. Yep. Ad agency, managing small mom and pops all the way to Fortune 500. And then your second son is coming.
Yep.
And you decide to go out on your own?
I'm stressed out, yeah, because there is pressure when like you could change a button from spending $100,000 a day to $1 million.
Oh wow. Oh, like a zero.
You change 1 zero wrong, and like you're liable. That's a lot of weight and stress. I was pregnant with my second son, and I'm like, this is like so. I've done it for so long, but this is like a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. And so that's what made me think. Well, I actually saw a YouTube video from someone who created a course, and so like something came in my mind. I'm like, man, maybe this is what I do. So that I decided at 6 months pregnant.
Wow.
So I come to Kyle, and I'm like, I think I should leave and like do my own thing. People are doing that. He's like, should we wait until after the free maternity leave? And I was like, I feel like I'll always have a reason to say no.
And that was last year.
Yeah. So November of 2022.
Okay, so 6 months before you were giving birth in...
Or May, I was about to give birth in June. So May was when I purchased.
Okay, so when did your personal launch happen?
January of last year.
January of last year. You had $0 to your business bank.
Correct.
So talk about how that started, because you had all this marketing experience.
I ended up getting one client that I was going to consult for. like actually do marketing for, because obviously now I teach. But at the time I was too scared. I was like, can I really be the person that is the instructor and has the course and teaches? And so I did what was safe, and I got one client that I could just do the work for. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, I'll create my course. And so that's how it started. So last January, not this January, but last was when I first got out on my own and I was building my course.
Okay. So can I share my first interaction with you? So at the time it was last spring, so May-ish.
Yep.
I literally had to confirm with you before. I'm like, this happened last year. What is time? It's fake. It's a construct for sure based on this story, because just last year, I remember selling from our business Instagram, because that's what we did.
Yes.
We would do a launch, and then we'd voice memo people about their questions and all that good stuff. And there's this girl who pops up, she's a cute little blonde headshot. And I'm like, she's so legit. How exciting is this? And you're like, hey, I'm about to give birth. At the time, we had an 8-week training for $4,000.
Yep.
And you needed sales help.
I did.
I would love to talk about that. So you started a business in January, it comes May, and you're wanting to have a sales conversation about our sales training. What was your experience then in that gap?
Well, so the reason I even messaged was because that course that I had talked about, I had launched it once. And I was like, oh, this went pretty well. I'm like, oh, I can sell. Like, I was telling myself I needed it, but I was watching you and Macy, and I was like, man, they're selling way better. I'm like, I feel like there's a gap missing. And I was thinking about it this morning, and what I wrote down was that the problem you delay is here to stay, and the problem you attend to can ascend you. I was like, sales is what I need to, like, sales is the problem I'm delaying.
And that was by watching us, or was there something else? Because you had a good launch. What was happening to where you're like, okay, no, this is an actual gap? Because that launch, like making sales, people can confuse that for I can sell.
That is what I was telling myself. I can sell because I've sold.
Right. And so what was the moment maybe, or that experience you had where you're like, okay, wait, no, I can't sell even though I made some sales?
I think you were sharing stories of other people's wins. I'm like hearing about these launches that were bigger than what I was doing, or in a month or in a week. I just kept hearing stories, and I'll never forget. I don't think I've ever told you this. There was something you were doing, and there were stars on a board, and you were writing names on them. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'll never forget. I was laying there super pregnant. I'm just watching her put these stars. I'm like, who are all these people that are learning sales? Maybe I don't know how to sell. And I'm watching her sell to me through an ad, and I'm like, I love this. I'm like, I just felt like that. I just felt a pull. I'm like, maybe there's something missing, you know?
So you're 8 months pregnant at the time?
7.5, but let's
I remember specifically, she came to me in this voice memo, and she's like, hey, I think I want to do this. It's a lot of money for me right now. My business I just started, and I'm about to have a baby. So there's all this like tension and resistance, like that honestly is in real circumstances. And I was thinking to myself, okay, like, is this actually good for her right now? Is this timing right? How can I help her? And what always happens in a sales conversation is, well, where does she want to go, and what is her past experience?
Yeah.
Do you remember making that decision? Because you ended up signing up. Do you remember how you made the decision, even though you're about to give birth? And I think this is important because so many women listen to us, and you're pregnant for almost a year. You like nurse or care for this infant for, forever, but especially like a year. So it's like 2 years of your life where you're wondering, am I just on a break? Yeah. Do I just press pause? And I would just wonder if you could like let us into your thought process.
It's because of one thing you told me.
What did I say?
You, on the other end of the voice memo, I'm walking on the beach, again, super pregnant. And all I hear is you say, Ashley, you said that you're expecting a baby soon and that you want to do a launch, because I told you, I said, I want to do a launch right after. And you're like, man, I know that after having a baby, there's so much you're going to be dealing with right there. The last thing you need is to have that anxiety about sales. She was like, in my opinion, like, can you afford not to have this for your next launch when you just have a newborn?
It is all coming back to me. It was like, get ready before you need to be ready.
Right.
And I think you're like, oh, it's not going to be for 4 months after the baby's born or whatever. And I was like, yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So do you want to have the skill set or not? And then what happened? Do you remember what happened during that launch post-baby?
Oh, it was way better. I mean, my conversion rate increased by probably 15 to 20%. So I made another $15,000 better. I mean, something was different. Like, I remember looking at Kyle and being like, this is getting better. Because I had just had a little bit of time to learn what you had taught me. But yeah, it was very different. Yeah, $15,000 more. I was in tears.
$15,000 more. Wow. So it wasn't long until, well, you ended up in one of our memberships at the time.
Yep, I did.
And we would coach you regularly.
Yep.
We didn't know each other very well. You just kind of like signed up and did your thing and shared wins, and it was great. And I don't know if this is too fast forward, but tell the story about you selling to Macy.
Oh my God. I've never shared this with anybody, but it's kind of embarrassing, but we're just going to share it. I wanted so badly to like partner together on like a podcast or an event. I think you had just shared that you might be doing an event or something. And I put on a blazer. It was not my color. Nothing about it was right. But I sat there for 5 hours in my room because I was like, this is such a big opportunity. It's like, if I can just use my sales girl skills and they'll see, maybe we could partner together, this could be like a really big thing. So I practiced and I practiced and I practiced and I practiced. And eventually I just like shook and clicked send, like send you to like this group video. And it was really saying, like using my sales girl skills, it was like, hey, you know, would you be open to this or this?
And that was the one where you told the story about people followed you to the bathroom.
I did.
Because they were like, you did so good. And she's like, see, I'm good.
That's it. I was trying to tell a story. I'm like, and the evidence is, and what you really want is someone that can bring
It was good because I remember like not really knowing what to think. And Macy texted me and she was like, that was a really good video. And I'm like, you're right. It really was. And so that kind of came through the slack of a membership we had at the time. Yeah. And this is such a funny little detail, but what I ended up responding to was, oh yes, we can partner under this condition. And that condition was, you're in our inner circle. That's what we do with our inner circle. And what did you say?
Well, the price was quite different from what I had paid. So in my brain, I actually remember like.
You paid $4,000 to be in our program.
Correct.
And this was
$25,000. So I'm like, what? Like I got sad because in my brain, I started telling myself, you can't do that. That's crazy. That's what I thought at the time.
Yeah. Your personality is so fascinating to me. Like, to know you is to really see inside your beautiful brain about how you are a go-getter and you place bets on yourself, and you have this like critical moment of like, oh, like then never mind. But then there's like the turnaround where you're like, wait, no.
I can be easily persuaded when it makes sense. So my gut reaction can be very different from what someone can like explain to me. I mean, honestly, I feel like you sold belief into me, which is where the story like leads to. But yeah, I in that moment was
like you stop your gut a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we buy emotionally and justify logically, and some people need a lot more logic than others. I need a little bit of logic and you need a lot of logic. Maybe you just need a little bit of logic, just a little bit, and the emotion is like, okay, the pull. So you already described the pull. So
yeah.
Okay, so you said no, I'm not going to do that.
It was October, so no, it was like hard no. Went downstairs, told Kyle, I was like, I just spent all this time, you know, doing this video, and they're like, yeah, you can, but you'll have to like push your chips and invest in yourself. And I'm like, I can't. What?
Yeah, and this is a story that kind of demonstrates two really cool things. One, she put herself out there, and so did I, because that was actually one of the first people I ever made the Inner Circle offer to.
Yeah.
It was brand new. I knew we could help people. I actually knew specifically we can help people get to $1 million the way we did.
Right.
Like the same kind of path.
Yeah.
And so I was really confident in that. I knew that you were legit. You had gotten these results. I even told Myron about your results.
I remember.
When I was on that October challenge, she's like, who have you helped? I'm like, Ashley. Jackie. Like, the few people rattled off the top of my head because I had just done a webinar talking about y'all, but that's beside the point. So you told me no, even though I made the offer and all that good stuff. Okay. So then within that membership, I ended up actually coaching you.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, Sell Your Offer Challenge.
Oh, it was in the academy. And then I was talking about challenges and how great like this experience was. You were asking the questions and then you ended up in the challenge.
That's right.
So talk about showing up to the Sell Your Offer Challenge, and I don't know, like what you came in wanting, because we were kind of working together, but not on an intimate level at the time.
Yeah. So what had happened is when y'all basically were like, hey, the way that we could do exactly what you said would be through this program. I was like, well, I'm just going to make my own event. I'm like, if they're doing it, I'm just going to go, they booked this place, I'm actually going to go book the same place. Like I literally did. I was like, I'm just going to do it. You know, because it's very interesting. You can watch people doing something successfully and you can just say, oh, I can watch from afar. And you don't know all the like subtleties and intricacies. You think you do, but you don't. And so I was like, I'm just going to go host this event. And it was not going well, which is why I attended the Sell Your Offer Challenge.
Wait, okay. So I actually think it would be interesting for you to share. So just two things, one about the event and then also just your sales in general. So you had our foundational sales training.
I did.
To this day, it's what we teach. It's the method that we follow. It is like black and white. You can follow this and win and make as much money, in my opinion, as you could ever want through sales conversations.
Absolutely.
So how was it going?
That was going well. It's that method and what you teach is exactly why I felt confident enough to host an event with 1,500 followers on Instagram.
Wow.
I'm like, I know I can sell it. I have this method. I'm just going to take what they taught me because it's already paid off so quickly. I felt that confident that I could do the event because of it.
Okay, that's good.
It says
We love to see it. Play big. So you had done like multiple six figures up until?
I think my total revenue, like the launches ended up being around, let's say like 200 something thousand.
That's huge.
Yeah.
You started in January to just in October, November. So surely I can do this event.
Surely.
Okay, cool. So
now I'm on the challenge because I have something to sell. And think about it. The challenge that you did was the first week of December.
Yeah.
My event was the first week of January. I had 30 days until I was going to sell this event, and ticket sales were going decent at best. I mean, I'm a marketing person, so like there were sales, but I hadn't gone all in. There's like something holding me back. So I get on the challenge, and I think it was day 3. And I remember looking at my husband and saying, if there's ever a day where I could charge $2,000, it would change everything. Okay. And so I told you on the call, I was like, I'm at 1,300. And you just clear as day were like, I think your exact sentence was, do you like have respect for your experience? Like, do you value your experience? And I don't think I'd ever thought about that. I'm like, do I value my experience? How does the price reflect the value that I believe I have? Because I remember you saying, wait, you're charging what for all this time? That's just you? And you asked me to tell a few stories, and you were like, tell me another one. And then you just looked at me, and I just felt like you saw that there was something there. And I respected you so much. I was like, maybe I'm not crazy. Maybe I do have something valuable that I don't even believe or see the value in. And you did.
I remember it's in my journal that I kind of want to show. It was like December 12th, Ashley. You're selling like $13.97 general, $19.97 VIP, and you're selling your soul in this VIP program. So what ended up coming from that was?
So after that call, that was the moment that I had my like closet moment. Do you remember me telling you about that?
I do, but I think everyone would benefit from hearing the story because it's really huge.
It was a moment like I've never experienced. So I got off that call. It was Wednesday, or Thursday, whatever day. And I walked downstairs and I felt like God was calling me into my closet, which has never happened before. So I'm like, am I being pulled? And I just got down on my knees and I was like praying like this. You know, I was kind of like on the floor like this. And I felt like what God was saying was, I have this all figured out for you. Like I have a plan for you, but you're going to have to open up your hands. And I noticed I was like, my hands are closed. I open up my hands. And what I felt like he was saying to me was, you say you have faith with everything else but your money. And I felt like what he was saying was, if you really have faith, there's one thing to say it, there's another thing to show it. And money is the one thing I don't let go. And it's why I was so hesitant when you said 25,000. I'm like, I associated money with time and I no longer do. So I was thinking, that's my first whole year out of college that she wants me to, you know?
Wow.
And so I was like, I think something's going to happen like soon. I just felt. So when Kyle came home that night, I said, Kyle, I don't know what the investment is, but something's about to happen. And I feel like God's saying, like, he has it all figured out.
And this is when I had made you the Inner Circle offer again?
This was the day before.
Oh, wow.
The next day you called me. And when I saw my phone ring, I actually thought, I'm like, how did she get my number? I thought God had given you the number. I was like, oh my God. And I forgot I'd done an application, but I'm like, Kat is like, what is this number? And it was you. And I'm like, God told her to call me. I just submitted it. But when you told me that and you told me the price of the offer, I got so emotional from that moment because I just felt so pulled towards it.
And at that time, I had made you an Inner Circle offer for $50,000.
$50,000.
And the reason that we're telling these details is because, first of all, like, I believed in you so much. And the way that you set a price is based on the potential payoff.
That.
Knowing that you know that you can get a payoff. And we talk about this a lot, but you can raise your price accordingly. So we had known, okay, like these people are literally already winning in the Inner Circle. And honestly, we want to limit who comes in, and the price does that. Like, hey, if people say no, good, because like we have plenty of people anyway.
Right.
And so at that time, there had been a $50,000 Inner Circle offer. So do you mind describing that feeling of yourself saying, you know, I want to invest in myself. I maybe like miss an investment. Like, what was that kind of decision-making process for you?
So if you're not following along, it went from 25 to 50, like that number in my head that I was panicking about. And I just knew that if I believed in me and you believe, because I really knew that you would not have offered that to me if you didn't feel like the value could be like 10x that. Yeah. And I remember you saying, what I can't do is guarantee this could happen, but Ashley, like, you're the person that could take this and get your return back next month. And you had just done that. You had just invested,
Right, that's
what,
so true.
$350,000?
Yes, we
So
did.
you had just experienced paying $350 and getting your investment back the next month. And then you saw that for me too. And, you know, I always give this example, but you can't explain floating to a toddler. Like, you can't explain the feeling of floating. You have to experience it. And so you had just experienced getting a payoff so quickly. I had not experienced that before, and it's hard to explain, but you had the experience to say, just trust yourself, trust the process. And so I felt pulled towards it. I walked into the bathroom when Kyle came home, and I was like shivering. And I was like, hey, I remember when I talked yesterday about how God has it all figured out? I was like, it's $50,000. And I told him, I was like, I feel like God's calling me to do it. And he said, are you certain God's calling you to do it? And I said, I am. He's like, well, I'm more scared if you don't. Do you think you should do it? Go do it. And that was it. He believed in me.
And I remember Macy and I got on the sales call with you.
Oh, I was like, I have to
all
see
that good
y'all.
stuff. You said, hey, just reassure me that these feelings are normal. I'm feeling nauseous. I feel like this is like I'm jumping off a cliff. Like, just tell me how you felt when y'all bought the $350,000 thing, and maybe that will help me adjust my expectations.
Yeah.
And when I said checks out, definitely checks out for the thing that's holding you back. Is it outweighed by the thing that could be?
Right.
That could be.
Right.
And it was really cool. So, okay, why are we spending so much time on this build up? Because it takes a lot longer to build momentum than the momentum itself. Yeah. Coming out of inertia, coming out of the slow start. Once you hear somebody's win, it feels like it happened overnight, when really it's actually a year. It's a year of putting yourself out there, of being told no, of missing the boat, of having conversations, of feeling nauseous. And that is exactly what you had. So when you come to this place where, like, I'm going to do this, you also had that event coming up still. And you said, can you and Macy help me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you help me make this I don't really know if you asked for it to be a six-figure event, but you can talk about that.
Yeah. So after I used my SalesGirl skills on the Chase Bank representative to leverage money that I didn't have.
That's so good. Please tell that story. I just tried to retell it, and I don't think I did a good job.
So it's actually an interesting point. I had the event. So I was already, like, making investments, like, for an event that, like, I had no sales for yet. And so I had I was leveraging myself, which I used to think, like, that debt was bad. I actually used to say debt bad. But now I think, like, it's a necessity. Like, what I don't believe in is potentially, like, using debt to pay for things that don't pay you back.
Sure.
But in a business, it's a non-negotiable that you must leverage to be able to get the payoff.
College debt, because it's like, well, of course it's going to pay me back. And then it, like, actually kind of doesn't.
Yeah.
In business, you can make money back so much faster over what time makes sense, right? For college, we think, oh, salary. But for business, it's so much beyond that. It's actually for value creation, which can happen in an instant. So anyway, that's so true.
So my brain had shifted, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to go borrow. And so I borrowed money to do the event, and then I sold this. She became my best friend, the Chase lady. I'm like, listen, I don't have the revenue for what I'm asking for, but I need my credit limit to increase, because if you remember, I was like, can I pay with multiple cards? Anyway, we got it all figured out. I was going all in no matter what. And so, yes, I did the math, and I was like, based on the event costs, the coaching investment, what this needs to be is a six-figure day so that I can pay off the debt and have money to just continue to grow the business. That was the goal.
It sounds a lot like Elisha and the widow. Borrow, sell, live on the abundance.
Pay off your debt, yeah.
Pay off your debt, live on the abundance.
What happened.
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing. Okay, so let's talk about you filling the event and the event itself, because this was kind of like the crescendo for you. And this happens with a lot of people in investments, is like, well, once this pays off, right? Like your whole life revolves around, let me make sure that this pays off. So talk about the lead up to this huge event where you're like, it's life and death right now.
It was. I mean, you too, like, I'll never forget, like, that month, because it was a month. All of a sudden, you're like, she pushed her chips in, y'all just, like, partnered alongside me. It was so, I'll never be able to, like, express my gratitude for that ever. But you know what's so funny is, because I had made everything was happening so fast, I didn't prepare even my sales message very well on that stage. In fact, I don't think I did a rep, don't tell Macy. Like, I didn't actually practice. Like, I
remember you being like, okay, so I'm working on my talk, and it was like Thursday or Friday, and like,
I'm like, okay, it's time for me to work on.
But you're this one-woman show, basically, with your mom and mother-in-law helping you put on this event, and sweet Laura Beth. And what she's describing as Macy and I supporting her is that over the years, we knew, well, yes, we can have one-on-one conversations, and that's amazing. And selling one-to-many is a different skill. Getting people over the line in a group setting is also a skill. And being able to have those conversations publicly is really cool. And we're like, if you do this, you will get the return, period. Okay, so you're starting to fill the event.
So we're starting to fill the event. We get to the day of, and one of the things that, we were talking through the coaching. We were talking back and forth with strategy. Well, thank God, 2 things. Number 1, you prayed with me before I got up on stage. Never forget it. And then thank God, like Macy knows how to sell so well. Yes, like the one-to-many is such a strategy that, in my opinion, it's like having a puzzle and you've got everything else and then you don't have that missing piece. To not know how to do that, it's like you can have all these pieces in your business and do so many things right, but having that one thing can change everything.
I was actually just coaching in the Sell Your Offer Challenge last week, and a lot of people were putting on events where they're like, I just want people to have a good experience. I just want them to learn something. I want them to, and I'm like, that's great. And just so you know, selling is what creates an experience.
It's that.
It is what gives them a transformation. And I know your speakers were just amazing. They made me smile like every time that one of them would come up. And you didn't think about it through a selling lens.
No.
Macy came in and sold after you.
She sure did.
And I'll just describe myself, what she did. You can just say your version, but my version is she awoke people's spirit to believing that they could do what you had told them they could do.
Couldn't say it better.
Like, here's the meta ad back thing. Here's the data of how our ads to return. Which is true. It's all true. But that, because it's true, doesn't mean it evokes the emotion that makes someone want to do the thing.
Right.
Okay, so then Macy got up and did her thing.
No wonder. I'm sitting there side stage just watching her in awe. These women, it's like they woke up from their nap. They're like pumping their arms, and Macy's like...
Woke up from a nap.
They did. It was like, they were like zonk, and then Macy comes up, and everybody's like sitting up, and you like watch their eyes, and like no one's blinking, and they're taking notes, and people are just doing like this. Yeah. I'm like, this is what I have to learn.
Ooh. And you were already in, so that was good.
I was already making progress, but it was nothing like what was happening before my eyes.
So what happened that day?
I had a 6-figure day. I mean, $157,000.
And you're sitting on side stage and you see, what, $5,000 sales coming in?
Oh, she's on the stage and I'm looking at my phone and it's like, people are just signing up. I'm like trying to act natural, but I'm like, I swear 5 minutes was like another one. And so I'm watching and I'm just doing math and she's just going, I'm like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Like I don't know what to do.
People love you. You are so special. And you have, I opened it up by saying this childlike spirit, and you just make heavy things feel good. So you really do. Marketing is not for the faint of heart. In my opinion, it's a skill set. So when you can make a skill set fun and approachable and doable, that is something that you do. So we're just happy to have played a part. And what has this year looked like for you? How do you come over so many mental hurdles?
Oh my God.
With your own value, with how you teach your clients. So what have you created and what have you overcome to do so?
You know, you and Macy have done a really good job of teaching me that to attract the type of buyer you want, you have to become that type of buyer. And so I've done that. And so it is so easy to sell investing on yourself because I've done it.
Yeah. And
so one thing y'all have really driven home for me is having a price based on the value that you can like generate.
Which is the payoff.
I traded 50 and within 30 days had 157. And so then when, June, when you offered another offer that was significantly higher, that felt free. I walked out to the car before Macy was even done talking about it. And I called Kyle and I said, I wasn't prepared for this. It's this. And he was like, and he asked 2 questions. He's like, you have to do it. It's just like, it becomes a no-brainer when I saw the price. You know what I didn't? I didn't see the price. I saw, shoot, if I just did 50 and that turned to 150, 125 will turn into 1.25.
Wow.
I just knew it.
Wow. And you had done really well up until this point where you're like, you just like
doing good,
kept winning. But I've talked and coached to so many people, whether they're already our clients or they're in the Sell Your Offer Challenge, and they are so in their head about their price. And I think about you often.
Yeah.
Because when you told me that your price was $13.97 and you couldn't even wrap your mind around having something that was even $5,000, what are some of those mental hurdles you've overcome with seeing your own payoff for other people and pricing accordingly?
I went from, am I worth like someone to pay this? It's like, no. Is the payoff worth this price? So it's like a flip.
And then it feels beyond fair and actually necessary.
They have to, because you always say you can't have a payoff until you have a pay in. And I know as my prices have increased, you know what's also increased?
What?
The results.
Wow.
Because they're serious. They're not playing. $13.97 you might could buy and just forget about it. You can't forget about the pricing now. And so now they're invested, and so they get the result, and results are better. When results are better, you can charge more. And now I'm at a capacity with a nearly $30,000 offer. This is insane. But it makes sense when you actually get over yourself and what are you worth and think about what is the payoff worth.
That's amazing. And that's where you are now, is you're at capacity with a $30,000 offer. You've upgraded into our program that we call Arena. And there's only 5 of you in there. It's like, let's get to $1 million. Let's really work on closely your sales events. How are you maximizing and capitalizing on all the work that you're doing? Do you have any final thoughts for someone out there who like needs to bet on themselves? They need to believe in the value that they have for somebody else. Just anything that encapsulates the journey that you've been on.
I mean, I have to say that like if you don't have the skill that you teach, like you and the Sales Girls specifically teach, it could be the missing puzzle. Like you could have everything else right, but if you can't have these conversations with excitement and know how to sell, like you might be stuck like way longer. So in my opinion, you can't afford not to have the skill. Like that's what I've like come to terms with. But the best investment you can make is in yourself. People come to me, and I'm sure people have come to you and said, I'm really investing in you. And it's like, absolutely you're not. You're investing in you, not in us. And so I am so all in that when you push your chips in, it forces you to meet a version of you you've never met. And it actually forces your hand, because as you push those in, there is no option that you just like don't care anymore. You're like, no, I've literally gone all in, and it forces you to become someone different.
Wow. Can I ask you for one more story?
Please.
So you actually, you would get on Voxer or on like one of our coaching calls, and you'd be like, can you just tell me what you'd say on this call? You were getting on calls so regularly.
So often. And
the price was changing. So there were like calls that were worth a different price, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, whatever they were. And you're like, okay, I want to practice this objection. I want to practice this. I'm so nervous. What would you say? And a lot of times we're like, hey, I'm not going to tell you what to say. What I will do is role play with you.
Yeah.
And you were so nervous. And I have seen a transformation in you where you're like, I just did what you would do. Your brain was in my brain, and there's been the software truly downloaded, and I'm finally getting it. I don't know if there's a specific story, but that has been something I have witnessed happen over and over, where you are so in pain, and now you're light as a feather.
Yeah.
And people are buying too quickly.
Too quick.
Too often.
Crazy.
You're like, I need to shut it down. But then you make room and all this stuff. So I don't know. Can you just shed some light on the power of a conversation? I think people think that's the slow way. That's the cheap way. I won't make money as fast as I can because it's on a funnel or whatever. But you literally run ads to conversations.
That's it. Yeah. Well, what I found is to master a skill, it takes time. And most people aren't willing to like be bad long enough. And like to be bad and to master something, it just takes time. You just need the time. And you have to be okay not doing a great job for a long time. And so I get on those calls and I channel WWKMD. What would Kat Macy do? Like, or I can do the Salesgirl, TSG. I mean, I'm like, what would they do? And the more you do it and the worse you are at it, you reflect and you just keep doing it again. But the conversations, I mean, I don't know what changed except for just practicing and practicing and practicing and being willing to pivot. And I would come to you and I'd be like, I know exactly what I did wrong. But
and what's cool is like you are winning along your mastery journey. You are earning as you're
yeah,
learning.
earning as you're learning.
Right. And that is just such a breath of fresh air that people aren't always needing this intense sales conversation. No. Sometimes they just need this little nudge to remind them of the value. They need you to ask them a direct question. Yeah. There's so many different little nuances to it. And you will make sales as you learn this. And you're such a testament to that. And I'm so proud of you that what can happen in a year?
What can happen in a year?
What can happen in a year? I don't know if you'll make $1 million. I don't know if you'll start a mastermind. I don't know. But what I do know is that you can be unrecognizable. And Ashley Brock, you are such living proof of that. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so thankful. So thankful. Hey, I haven't told you something.
What?
You know where we're at with revenue?
No.
I found out yesterday. Are you ready?
Yeah.
1.32 million.
Wow.
In 8 months.
In 8 months. That was your yearly goal.
My goal was $1 million. I can't even believe the 3.2. But I just wanted to say, like, thank you for doing exactly what you're doing, and everyone needs what you have to offer. So I'm thankful.
I'm honored to be alongside you. Thank y'all for being here. See you on the next episode.